Hi, guys. It's Brandon again with the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast. I'm your host, and I am here with your co-host.
I'm Landon. What's up?
What's with the dead space, man?
Hey, man. I had to change it up for today. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm switching it up.
And today's guest is an amazing guest. He's a little bit everywhere. Patrick. Patrick, introduce yourself to the audience.
Right on. Great to be here, guys. Appreciate it. I'm Patrick White, currently the marketing manager over at Film Streams. I recently joined the board of directors for Flatwater Film Festival. Really excited about that. Their inaugural board of directors. I was in a film recently, The Farm, which I think you guys saw. All 2 hours and 45 minutes of it, right? Goodness, what else is going on? Previously a teacher. I used to write movie reviews. I've bounced around different things, and I've recently landed in more of the film space, theater exhibition, stuff like that. So
Very good. Very good. So you got your fingers in a little bit of everything filmmaking.
Fair to say. Yeah, for sure.
Especially lately.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you were working with ACX, the theater company, and then just recently we were at Flatwater, and they introduced the board and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And you're, part of the new board members. One of our other buddies, Alexander Hamilton, as well.
Sure.
I believe he's the president.
He's the president. Yep. And I'm the secretary. I didn't specify that.
It's all good. All good. So, what is some of your most favorite things that you have, since you've done a little bit of everything with filmmaking now? You've been able to be in it, but then you've also been able to show it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your favorite part of it?
Goodness. I mean, it's generally speaking, it is the film of it all, honestly. I am just a huge fan of being in a movie theater and seeing movies on the big screen. There's nothing else that compares to that to me. So that's a major part of it. The more recent, project with The Farm, that was my first acting on screen in a feature experience. That was fantastic, and it was great to be around the director and the cinematographer, who you guys know well. And yeah, it was cool to be on a set, even though we were an indie budget. I thought those guys did a great job.
Now, since that was your first film, did you learn anything new that you didn't realize that, that's what we have to do to make these?
I mean, the big thing for me was memorizing lines again. I come from a theater background. Was in productions when I was young at the Rose and in grade school, and did that all through college. But there was a long lapse of time in between college and this feature where I lost the skills to memorize those lines. And man, that was beastly. Even though it was just a few lines here and there, it still took a bit to get them all down. But thankfully, the guys were great about giving me the time, the space I needed to get it done and give the best performance I could. You question your performance, though, in the moment, too.
Always.
Especially coming from the theater background. I'm worried, am I overdoing it? Because theater can be a lot more broad and bold. But thankfully, I also come from a speech background, which is a little bit more, let's say, smaller performance. And I think it's more film adjacent than theater per se. So I think I did a decent job seeing the final product.
Assume, speech, if you're making speeches, you kind of have to sell yourself and sell what you're saying
100%
to a point. So in a weird way, acting, that is what that is. And I think we even mentioned that with one of our previous guests, Steve Hydeen, where he's an acting coach.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And how it's do you ever get people coming into your classes that aren't actors, but they just want to be better businessmen?
Sure.
Salespeople.
Absolutely.
And I think that kind of goes hand in hand.
Yep.
And I think that might be why you're able to so easily go into it, because you kind of had that business side of everything, but also acting, and it kind of all amalgamates, I never can. We have this conversation every time. We don't consider ourselves actors, even though we are now.
Sure, of course.
We do act.
I consider myself
but
acting.
I definitely consider myself a salesman. I used to be a telemarketer for years. And I think there's something to be said that some people that have those characteristics are probably good at both.
Right.
I could only imagine Robin Williams trying to sell me something.
Sure.
You know, and now my head just goes back to the what was his character's name? Not the genie, but the very first, the peddler at the beginning of Aladdin.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know,
Yeah,
who was
the
probably the genie in human form or something like that.
There's some
selling Tupperware, still good.
Yeah.
You know, that
yeah,
he could sell me anything.
that's true. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Is there any projects coming up in your future that you're really excited for?
I don't have any film projects in the pipeline right now, but I'm very interested to explore that. It's just finding the time. You talking about speaking and speech. I used to be a speech coach when I was a high school English teacher, and there's a major part of me that misses the direction side of it. I think I'm really good in communicating what I want in terms of emotions from an actor or a speaker or performer. And even in speech, I primarily worked with what's called interpretation, which is more that kind of theatrical performance. But seeing Caden in action, it definitely kind of bit me a little bit. Like, I'd like to be behind the camera sometime.
Kind of want to direct a project potentially?
It'd be really cool.
Sure.
I think it's a lot of me is drawn to also like writing and developing a project, but that can be so difficult, and it can almost like gum up the works because you're trying to create constantly and just work this all out. But there's something to be said for like, who's got a script, you know?
I got you. You want the roadmap at least, so
Yeah.
you know what direction you're headed.
Exactly. Yeah. But I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself to be a writer director, and that's the path maybe I'd like to pursue. But honestly, like, I think I have skills as a director that I haven't explored enough. So yeah, I think finding maybe a screenwriter that might help the process a little bit for me.
I think we might know a couple.
I think you might. Sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe one or two,
yeah.
something like that. Just one or two.
So on the set, let's go back to the farm.
Yeah,
on the set of the farm, was there any fun things that you remember that kind of stand out?
You know, it wasn't a scene I was in, actually. I was just helping out for the night, and gosh, I wish I could have helped out a heck of a lot more. My plan was to help those guys out, but, you know, life just takes control. But there was one night when we were in like a storage shed, pretty large storage shed, where pretty pivotal scene happens in the film. Our victims are being tortured. That's all I'll say about that. And the energy was just really fantastic in there, even though everybody was freezing their butts off. It was a fun energy. I recall that I even I threw in a little suggestion to Caden about how they lift up a character and almost like puppeteer him. And I was like, what if you like had him set him on the chair and then you puppeteered him? Because there was talk of like lifting him up from the ground and doing it. And I just thought it would be even more twisted if he puppeteered him from the chair. So, I thought that scene turned out pretty good. But yeah, just the energy of being on a set is, it's pretty intoxicating, if you will.
That's what I like about Caden. He's very free with his idea. Like, he has the idea and the roadmap of what he wants, but he's very collaborative.
Yes, definitely.
And he's like, if you got an idea, throw it at me.
Yeah.
That's why I love working with Caden.
Yeah.
He's just super chill.
Very flexible. You know, lines weren't always perfect, but we got the gist of it, and it was communicating what we needed to, and it was more about the emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's funny that you mentioned, you know, it being cold, everybody's cold.
Yeah.
And then some of the actors that are in this movie are actors that were in Landon's film 2 years ago, F.
Okay. Sure.
And they had to deal with just extreme heat
Oh.
during the summer.
Yeah, because
in an old school building that doesn't have the AC.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what was some of the things that you guys may have had to work with other than the cold maybe that are just the things that the typical audience member might not, if they're not into film or anything like that, it's like, oh, we don't typically realize that we have to put up with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Until we have to put up with that stuff.
Yeah.
So it just kind of shows those actors they're willing to put themselves through it, for
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you noticed in any of that you're like, oh.
Because it was, you know, low budget and we were just guerrilla filmmaking to an extent, you know, moving around different areas of Omaha, shooting at the Metro campus. We we were having to adhere to, hey, are the doors going to be locked or going to be opened? Or are we able to use this space, or is it being occupied at the time? Like just things, you wouldn't necessarily deal with elsewhere, but these guys are trying to do it. They're snappy and trying to shoot quickly and get out of there just as quickly.
And I think
that's an element, certainly.
I think there's something to be said about that too. The guerrilla filmmaking, just the not having something, makes you have to be more creative in a sense.
Most definitely.
You know, you can't just throw money at it and answer that question.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
have to be able to fix something without having something.
Yep.
So I think that's the one thing I enjoy working with Caden as well, is he is so open to different ideas and suggestions and things like that. But he also is that lower budget filmmaker that he understands that he's not going to be able to shoot for the moon. But he also understands who he's working with.
Yeah, totally.
And what they bring to the project and what they can bring out. And it might not be money that's being thrown at it, but it's the talent.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and I've been able to, I got lucky enough to work with pretty much everybody that was on that set. You know, there's maybe a couple people that I haven't worked with yet that were on that, the farm set.
Yeah.
And they're all amazing in their own rights. Yep. They all have their own little quirks and things like that. And the one thing that I loved about being at Flatwater and watching that film, we just had another interviewer, said he can't sit through 3-hour movies.
Sure.
You know, and this movie, it's a little long.
It's a little
in
long.
The original edit.
No offense, Caden. No offense.
Well, and working with Caden in writing and things like that, I also understand that sometimes I think he writes in his head episodically.
Sure. Yeah.
And he doesn't
There's definitely
realize
that element to this film. Yeah.
So then, in a weird way, this movie could definitely be chopped up into pieces.
Sure. Yeah.
Rather than one long movie.
Yeah.
And do you ever see, like, not to spoil the movie or anything like that, do you see anything possibly happening with that it could be like either a series or just the proof of concept of a bigger project?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely potential in that. I think where Caden, he likes his cut, he's happy with his cut, is because the characters have been so fleshed out, right? Like, it could just jump into the kidnapping. That it could be 5 minutes of the character stuff and then jump straight into the kidnapping. It's not the movie he wanted to make. It's not the story he wanted to tell, right? Like, he wanted to actually give you the perspective of these characters and the struggles that they're going through before we get into this larger, kidnapping plot, which really is, I don't think it captures the themes that he's most passionate about, right? Like, it's an important element of it, but it's really about the people. And to your point, though, I think there's definitely an opportunity to develop that episodically because things are so well hashed out with the character studies that are happening amongst 4 characters. That's also a challenge within itself. There's a balance between these 4 people that is difficult to strike, but I think he's done a nice job.
And I don't know how many other projects of Caden's you've watched, but that's his big strength, is being able to balance multiple characters.
Sure. Yep.
Because a lot of his films, like from The Farm, Psycho Money, even Wayward Brothers, it had very main big characters.
Sure. Yeah.
And they all got their own little arc and things like that no one really got overshadowed or undershadowed at all.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Even the side characters, like Wayward was it was a fan film we all got to work on. That's how I actually met Caden for the first time.
Cool.
For The Last of Us video game.
Oh, okay.
And I was brought in as the bad guy, but then the gentleman that I can't remember his name in The Farm, Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch. Yeah.
That actor, he played Mitch. Far naming.
And I believe the actor's name is Mitch, and then I can't recall his character's name, actually.
Right. I can't remember his character's name in this, in The Farm.
Yeah.
But in Wayward, he was just a side character. He was like my muscle.
Yeah.
But he he shined.
Mm-hmm. Mitch is really good. He's a confident actor. He was great to work with. Mike, I believe, was the detective I worked opposite to. He was great. Yep. Then there was Tim. Like, those three guys I primarily worked with, and that was a lot of fun. I could have done that all day.
So, with that being said, because you got to work with such amazing actors and characters around you and stuff, now that you kind of have that acting bug again a little bit, would there be any character in that movie, in that story, that hypothetically you could see yourself or would love to try to portray yourself?
Yeah.
Like, if you could have ever just switched roles, which one would have it been, do you think?
Before I answer that, I got to shout out Nicole, too. Nicole was in those scenes as well. And I wouldn't have been in this project without Nicole, because she worked at Backlot Pizza and Kitchen, alongside ACX Cinemas. So, wouldn't be in it without her. So, got to shout her out. I mean, Mike's character was definitely interesting to me. Mitch's character was interesting to me. I'm a detective or a villain. I'm all for it.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to do is move on.
Sure. Yeah.
To the fun part.
Okay.
The nonsensical part. The kids' table questions with Landon.
Okay.
I felt the pressure on that one, man. That felt very... What an intro. Now I got to live up to it. Wow. All right, here we go. So basically, welcome to the kids' table.
Thank you.
These questions are childish. They make no sense.
Okay.
But they just get into your psyche and let the people know who you are a little bit.
It's a little frightening, but sure.
No biggie. What's your favorite dinosaur, my man?
Dinosaur? Just
what's your favorite dinosaur?
Probably a raptor, just because the Jurassic Park original.
That's fair. Top 3 albums of all time.
Ooh, God, I'm a music guy, but I'm not an album music guy. So
songs or artists, Top 3 music of all time. We'll just go with that.
I'm a 90s, 2000s kid, so Blink-182 certainly comes to mind. Rocked out to that on a boombox, showing age there. Goodness. I really love the number one compilation of the Beatles hits. That was one that I listened to a lot back in high school as well.
Okay.
Goodness, what else? I think I got to throw in a score, for a film, because I'm big on listening to scores while I'm working.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get caught up in YouTube rabbit holes and I just have that going for hours, but when I really want to focus, I'll put on a score. Obviously, Interstellar is a big one, and beautiful. Anything John Williams. Yeah.
John Williams.
Yeah.
Tim Burton. Not Tim Burton. Danny Elfman. I put on the Batman soundtrack the other day.
Dude.
Not as high on the Prince stuff. Don't hate me on that. But love Danny Elfman's soundtrack.
What are 3 animals that you think you could beat in a hypothetical fist fight? And we're throwing all logic out the window with this. These can be real, imaginary, prehistoric, fake, whatever.
You know what pops into my head right away is because we've got a cat outside. Just fisticuffs with the cat, which I don't have. I'm actually allergic to cats, so you'd think I'd have something against. No issues with cats. All good. Goodness. We said 3?
3.
So we've got a cat. Squirrel. They're all around.
Oh, dude, I couldn't beat a squirrel in a fight. They're all crawly and stuff. I get freaked out.
They'd be all over the place.
I've been doing this for a while. We've done a few months of recording these, and I've actually done some thoughts. I'm going to cheat. I have an answer to answer all 3 animals.
Really?
The 3 blind mice. Done.
Whoa.
That's good.
I win.
That's good.
Insane.
Goodness. What's the last one? How about a penguin?
That's fair. Yeah.
Depends on the kind.
I don't want to beat up any of those animals, but they're all small, so that feels right.
That's fair.
Emperor penguins are pretty damn big.
Aren't they 4 or 5 feet tall?
They're huge.
Yeah.
They're a lot bigger
Honestly,
than you think.
I still think I could take one of those.
I just feel like I want to ride one.
You want to ride a penguin?
As it's sliding.
A sled?
Yeah.
They did that in Avatar.
What?
The show.
Oh,
not the blue people.
I was like, they didn't
with the elements and whatnot.
Yeah,
Aang rode like a penguin in like the first episode.
Yeah. Speaking of Avatar, I have to, because he brought it up. Landon, we're all raised on different things. You're bringing the 90s up in the 2000s and such like that. Landon was raised, and he used to watch a show called Caillou.
Okay.
Hey,
yep,
man.
I'm familiar.
So then
Looking
when
back,
he
this
started
kid was such a
watching
brat.
Avatar, The Last Airbender, and I would see like action figures of it, I was like, hey, look, it's Karate Caillou. Do you want Karate Caillou?
Pretty good.
And he hates it.
I do.
He hates it.
By the way, didn't even start watching Avatar until like 2 years ago. I got into it very late.
I still have not gotten into it.
It's pretty good.
I'm really bad about TV, weirdly, but I love movies. So
I hear bad things about the movie,
yeah, that's all.
the live action, but I hear great things about the new show.
Okay, I hear
show.
mixed things about the show. Just watching YouTube videos.
I haven't heard anything about the new live action show. Well, I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen any of it.
Right.
But the movie, my grandma got it for me for my birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I told her I was thankful for it. The second I got home, I threw it away. I was not going to watch it.
No, that's fair.
Because she knew I liked the Avatar, The Last Airbender.
So she was thinking.
She bought me the live action movie.
Yeah. She didn't
Thanks,
know.
Grandma. But come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the questions I go to is, growing up in 90s and 2000s, you're not as young as him. So what is something that you kind of grew up with that, and we're all about the remakes and reimaginings and all that stuff now for some reason in Hollywood. What would be like a show or a movie that you would love to like bring back and put a different spin on it? Ooh. And, if it's a TV show, make it a movie, or a movie, make it a TV show or something like that to freshen it up somehow.
This is a nerdy. It feels like an art house answer too. But one of my favorite movies is Network, the Sidney Lumet movie, and I think it is, it captures this time in like the 1970s in terms of media and politics and all of it together. I think if somebody developed that into a TV show and captured more of the modern spirit of what's happening in media and politics, which to an extent, like The Newsroom is a good example of that.
Right.
But Network just had an energy to it, and there's almost an absurdity to it as well because there's the ravings of Peter Beale, like the main character, at the center of the movie. But yeah, that's one of my favorites. Sidney Lumet is one of my favorite directors. Dog Day Afternoon, 12 Angry Men. So yeah, that's you could say make Jurassic Park into a TV show or something like that, but I'll go with a cool 1970s drama.
I gotcha. Did they technically make Jurassic Park into a TV show when they did The Walking Dead?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's a take.
It's a take.
For sure. I know they have an animated TV show, so I guess somebody did.
They do
something with it.
Yeah. They have a lot of animated things that you wouldn't assume would be cartoon based. Like they have a Fast and the Furious cartoon.
Do they? Serious?
Yes.
I didn't know
it's his nephew or something.
Oh, okay. That does seem somewhat familiar.
Dom was on it for a little bit, I think. They have just random stuff that it's like, why is that marketed to kids? I don't get it. Okay. But then, I grew up with weird stuff too. You know, we took the Beetlejuice movie and made it a cartoon.
Yeah.
We made movies into cartoons back in the day that should not have been kids' cartoons. Like Rambo was a cartoon.
Beetlejuice is a weird one because they took the relationship between Beetlejuice and Lydia and developed it into this friendship buddy comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah, very bizarre.
RoboCop was a cartoon.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
but there was a lot of different stuff. So you mentioned you got a lot of different things. Are you still at Film Streams?
Yeah, still at Film Streams. Yeah, going on a year in January.
What is your role at Film Streams?
Yeah, I'm the marketing manager. One of my primary responsibilities is social media. I've been kind of handing off that responsibility to a new employee, but we collectively work on that. Newsletters, we work together writing those, and I'm a proofreader extraordinaire. because of my English teacher background. So I'm called on to proofread quite a bit. Goodness, what else? I edit video content to promote our films. I speak about film streams and what's going on. I've appeared on KIOS a few times, both on KIOS at the movies with Josh Labor and Live and Local with Mike Hogan. Just to, represent for film streams. It's a pretty awesome job, gotta say. Like, just to communicate all the great things that are happening at our locations, whether it's events or just the films themselves, what the organization is doing in terms of membership and awareness, and just, the overall effect of movies on a community and an industry. And, I love my time at ACX Cinemas, which was more mainstream movies and promoting those big blockbusters, which I've got a place in my heart for that, and I've got a place in my heart for the art house. And but yeah, it's been a cool transition just to have these two experiences in such a short amount of time.
Right. And I think that it goes to show the fact that we had a conversation not too long ago. I can't remember who it was with, but the fact that there's a place for all kinds of film.
Yes, absolutely.
All types of film.
Yes.
And the fact that you have the blockbusters, the big, we got to blow stuff up and entertain people. But then you got the ones that don't do that.
Yeah.
It's the character driven more. And then there's those ones that, totally surprise everybody and they can do both.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like Oppenheimer.
Sure. Absolutely.
To me,
perfect
that was a great way of like bridging the gap of, it doesn't matter what kind of movie you like.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you're going to like Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Oh, very good point. Well, and I'm just such a, champion of going to the movie theater. And it's partially because my experience is I will tune out after a time if I'm watching it on TV. It's just how my focus has transformed over the years. When I was in high school, I was popping in DVDs and VHS tapes left and right like crazy and just absorbing as much cinema as possible. But over time, it's I've lost a little bit of that, just not passion so much, but just that focus, like I said. So I want to be locked in. Like, I want to go to the movie theater. I want to sit down. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not pulling out my phone. It's about that experience.
Right.
There's nothing like it.
And I think there's something to be said because, like, at home, watching movies, streaming, whatever, shows, you have all those distractions. You got the pet, you got your phone, you got whatever.
Yeah.
You also have just the comfort level of knowing that you can pause it and just go to the restroom.
Yep. Totally. No,
Being at the theater, there's that stress factor of, did I drink too many? Crap. Am I going to miss something?
Do you guys know
go.
about
I need to go.
Sorry. Do you guys know about the Run Pee app?
What?
You got to check this out.
Oh, I have heard of this.
Yes. It sounds ridiculous.
Educate me.
Please. Okay, so it's an app where you will be notified, just like a little buzz of your phone, which again, the distractions can be a pain, but little buzz of like when the people who have watched this film who work for the Run Pee app have decided like this is a point where you can step out and use the restroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's insurance.
It's amazing.
Genius.
Yeah. Those giant soda days, where...
So, hey, Caden, now that I know that you're watching this episode, I need the farm on this app.
Still haven't seen the farm, by the way.
Not my scene. Not my scene.
I'm very sorry.
Don't step out on my scene, right?
It is amazing.
Shameless self-promotion.
But then there's something, to be said about going to the movie theater that you get to enjoy the movie and there's that anticipation of not wanting to miss anything and all that stuff.
Sure.
But then there's still that camaraderie
Yeah.
of the other moviegoers. So, like, and it also depends on the movie that you're going to see. So, like, I got to go see, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, great example.
One of the greatest movies to watch in the theater because you're getting everybody's reaction.
Yeah.
Like, these my people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was definitely an experience. And I saw it, twice. The second time, I'm just chuckling quietly to myself.
Yeah.
Well, and
where everybody else is
and
pretty
going
silent.
back in time, I remember going to one of the most popular movies of all time in the theater multiple times.
Sure.
I went to Titanic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it went from a drama to a comedy for me after the first 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Because the second that boat starts bobbing up and down in the water, I'm counting just counting the minutes until Ping Pong Guy shows up.
Sure.
And you can tell who's been there too because they laugh too.
Yeah.
You're not the only one. But then it's even funnier when it's these teenage girls. Like, I was a teenager too. Yes, I get it. But at the same time, you got these little girls going, I can't believe they sunk their ship. What? Okay, one, you're stupid.
Yeah.
That's just wow.
Sure.
But then, I can't believe they killed him. Why couldn't she get on the boat? Why couldn't he get on the door?
Yeah.
Physics.
It's been out for weeks now.
Right.
No one told you this? And I think that's the other thing about film now, too, is social media has killed going to the theater to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Because of spoilers.
Did I log out
for sure.
of everything?
But yeah, that's the thing, right? You just try to tune it out. Like, I caught a spoiler for Deadpool and Wolverine. It was just a mention of, like, a character that appears. But then I didn't see all the other ones prior to seeing it, and I was blown away. Spider-Man No Way Home's another one. Like, I mean, there was crazy speculation for weeks. There's the iconic
The Andrew Garfield leak.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But then there's the lizard, how he's like whipping his head because he's being kicked by one of them.
Yeah.
Like, all this speculation. But then, like, once I was in the theater, that was definitely like a top 5 experience. I was with a bunch of my coworkers. I don't know if you guys know this, but we were talking about earlier your Santa experience. I actually worked for a company and did this superhero gig.
Yes.
I dressed up as a superhero for a time. And I was with some of that crew. And this was at ACX Cinema's location, the Exarban Cinema one. And there was a promo of me on there telling people to buy gift cards. So everybody was like cheering for me with that group. And then we watched this movie and blew my mind in terms of the cameos. And that crowd was just electric. Like, people were cheering like crazy. So definitely a top 5 moment for me. But yeah, the spoilers thing, I really try to stay away from it as much as possible. The funny thing is, too, like, working in social media, I try to tune it out outside of work as much as possible, just because I need that separation. I'm on it a lot. And it's even been funny how it's transitioned in terms of, like, my algorithm, that I'm seeing a lot more, let's say, art house cinema versus the blockbuster stuff. And I'm becoming almost less aware of, like, oh, wait, Venom's coming out this week, or, Beetlejuice is in a day.
It was one of those fun things, like, because you mentioned the art house and things like that. I actually had an idea for either another podcast or a skit show to where you would release spoilers that aren't spoilers anymore.
Okay.
For old movies.
Yeah.
Like, if social media existed
right.
back in, like, the 80s and 90s, you review those shows with the spoilers and you leak them like they would have today.
That's pretty funny.
Just to have a little fun haha to it.
It's funny that you say that, because we show repertory titles at film streams pretty often, classics, if you will, and I spoiled Citizen Kane for one of my coworkers recently because we were showing it. It's like this movie from the 1930s. I shared the biggest spoiler of the movie. He's like, I haven't seen it. I'm like, sorry, man.
Yeah, and me as a father, I've ran into that with Landon. Being a film guy, being a film
that's
kid.
Gotta be tricky. Yeah.
And also we've mentioned this too with a previous guest, Mike White. Mm-hmm. He's a professor at Wayne, and how generationally watching movies at a different time frame or in a different order. Mm-hmm. We're in a time now that I had to watch Star Wars with the originals first.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Then came episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. Yeah.
I am not calling the originals episode because I won't do it.
Sure.
But some people growing up, they watched them in order of episode.
Yeah, no,
And I'm like,
That's what you're supposed
I
to
was
do.
right on the cusp of that because, like, I saw the special editions in theaters 1997.
right.
So that was my, and I watched them on VHS prior to that.
But
yeah.
that's my point is like, they're not going to have the same feelings and understanding of the story as individuals like myself do.
sure.
So it's going to be a whole different
Yeah.
thing. You know, that would be like, you know, the Fantastic Beast and the Harry Potter franchise.
Yeah,
So
that being your
if
first
they go to the
exposure.
Fantastic Beast first,
Yeah.
then watch Harry Potter, it might not be the same.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
it's a weird amalgamation of different things. But then, like, I also look at it as like remakes. How I brought remakes up earlier.
Right. Yeah.
There's remakes or sequel series, you know. So, like, let's say Hawaii Five-0. They did a sequel series. They did a Magnum PI reboot.
Oh yeah, everything's getting,
You know,
it's
so
Matlock.
Matlock, MacGyver.
Dexter
you know,
just got like a.
That's a continuation.
Is it?
Sure.
The sequel
It's a
series,
sequel,
yeah.
at least, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, you know, like Knight Raider.
Yeah.
You know, they're not necessarily continuations.
Yeah.
They're just renewed stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then you realize, okay, I grew up with the original, so I know that that's what that is.
Uh-huh.
Some people of your age or younger, they don't realize that's not original content.
Right. Right.
And I know we're a Filmmaker Hangout podcast, but some of my favorite ones are like the TikToks of like the new generation and the old generation. It's actually the same guy. He's just putting on a fake mustache to do it, and it's songs
Uh-huh.
that are the same song.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they sample the same song.
Yeah.
So like the new generation is like, this is an awesome song.
Yeah.
And then the grandpa turns on a different song and it's like, no, bro,
Yeah.
ours came first.
So that's funny you bring this up. Omaha Community Playhouse, they just did Jersey Boys, the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And there's a song in their repertoire called Beggin'. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but there is there's a song that was created and then it was adopted by TikTok that this cover of Beggin' is used in like all these videos. And that was my first exposure to this song, was through TikTok videos. It's like, begging, begging, please. I don't know if that's familiar to you at all. And then I'm watching the play here and I'm like, wait a second, I recognize this song.
Did
Why
they
the
just
heck do
steal
I recognize
TikTok?
Exactly. Yeah, your brain goes that way. It's like reverse engineering. Like, what is happening? No, that doesn't make sense. It was not stolen from TikTok and added to this musical. But yeah, just goofy stuff. I'm curious, with Star Wars, like, do you have more of an appreciation for the prequels because that was your first exposure, or where do you side with that?
See, I was never really a big Star Wars guy until The Force Awakens came out.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then because I remember we were going to go see The Force Awakens with my grandpa. Big Star Wars nerd.
Okay. Yeah.
Big Yoda guy.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I had like one of those big ass box TVs that you stick a VHS in.
Sure.
I had all three like original Star Wars movies on VHS.
Yeah.
So the day of, I got nothing to do. I took school off. So I
just
popped them in. I
Right
watched
on.
all three Star Wars movies back to back. I was like, okay. So the first like three movies that came out, that was my first exposure to Star Wars.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I was able to watch the originals, and then I went and saw The Force Awakens, and then I met my friend Quay in high school. He was a big Star Wars guy. Because I wasn't ever really still a big Star Wars guy, but I was like, I at least want to know what's going to happen in The Force Awakens.
Of course. Yeah.
So he got me back into Star Wars, and then I watched the prequels, and then I watched the original ones after the prequels, and then I watched the new sequels, which suck ass.
The last one did
Yeah.
more than anything
Yeah.
else.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I like
No
The Force
question.
Awakens. I don't know.
It's grown on me.
Yeah.
And that's true of both Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. When I came out of The Force Awakens, and I don't know if this was your perspective, I was just like, That was a remake. They remade A New Hope. That's kind of a bummer.
Kind of, yeah.
And then The Last Jedi, I was like livid. I was one of those fans who was like, "What have they done? They've destroyed Luke Skywalker."
Yep. Even he thought so.
I know.
He would not be this
those
depressed.
clips are everywhere.
Yeah.
And like compilations of him just saying it over and over. It's like, Ryan Johnson and I didn't agree on this character.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, okay, man.
It's one of those things that a corporation gets a hold of it, and it's no longer the creatives' ideas.
Yep.
And I just want to know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what that feels like.
Yeah.
You know, I would love and hate to be a James Cameron
Sure.
/ you know, why am I forgetting his
George
name?
Lucas.
George Lucas.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those guys that, you know, you're done with something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't have any more fuel in the tank to do it.
Yep.
So you sell it off to somebody else.
Yep.
And then you see what they do it to it. And
It's got to be brutal.
Yeah.
sometimes as an audience member, I like what some people do with other people's stuff.
I mean, The Last Jedi has grown on me,
Like-
weirdly.
Yeah.
James Bond, to me, that's a series that it gets better
Yeah. Yeah.
with time.
There's,
You know,
definitely
It-
highlights.
It's very thematic with the time that it comes out.
Yeah.
Obviously, like there was a
Which is
couple
cool.
Pierce Brosnan ones that were like, bro,
Yeah.
really
I
green
mean,
screen.
Quantum of Solace
on.
is not, like a bright spot in the Daniel Craig.
But you know, it's one of those ones that not everybody is the same guy working on those films.
No.
Yeah.
No,
And they still put out pretty good movies.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, but anything else, it's like, damn, what did
Yeah.
you do to that guy's series?
Yeah.
Well, and like when I was freaking out, maybe it's a little extreme, but after The Last Jedi, I'm like, it was terrible. It destroyed everything. My dad's like, it was a Star Wars movie because he hasn't locked in and watched the trilogy over and over again like I did, and that's his fault that I did watch the trilogy over and over again, and I felt those feelings. But no, he hadn't watched Star Wars in probably 10 years,
which I
there
find-
it was on screen again.
It's
he was
very interesting.
hyped.
Like, I don't put one above the other, but like Star Trek to me,
Mm-hmm.
in certain cases, does a better job of the connection of everything.
Sure.
Because even when they rebooted it,
Yeah.
recast and everything, they still connected it to the old ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they still did it in a way that it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't over the top, and it fits into that world.
Yeah.
In a sense.
That first one is one of my favorite blockbusters. I really like what Abrams did with that. But I'm not like the biggest Star Trek fan. On the other
Right.
hand, that was not something I grew up with. I inherited Star Wars love from my dad, and I took it and ran with it. Star Trek was just never kind of I wasn't culturally aware of it in the same way. But it wasn't until the 2009 Star Trek that I was like, this is pretty cool. I
Well,
like
and
this.
the thing is that I think that they can do with the Star Wars is it's in space, guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to stick around the same 5 planets.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, definitely.
And 8
the
characters.
same people. Yeah, exactly.
Go look at how the first movie started with.
Yep.
In space, the word scroll, far, far away.
yeah. For
Okay,
sure. Yeah.
just go another far, far away.
The issue is, and I'm sure you guys recognize this, is that when they veer away from that, regardless of the actual storytelling or tone or whatever, fans don't go along with them, right? Like they come back for when they go back to the original characters, but like the Acolyte, for instance,
Show got mutilated.
yeah, completely mutilated and didn't perform well week after week. Like started off relatively strong, fell off over time, but then Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's gaining.
Right.
It had an audience. Just returning to those characters.
Dude, the last couple episodes of the Kenobi show.
And that's
just fun. Like,
and that's how you
those
get
are the
those
moments,
weird ones
too.
like Rogue One.
Yeah, I
Where
love
they're
Rogue One.
trying to
So
introduce
good.
new
I love it.
characters.
I don't care.
They're
It's
trying to
great.
introduce new characters to
Yeah.
the whole story, but within the time frame and timeline that we all know.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And then they're just like, can it work?
Yeah.
Oh, it worked.
Yeah.
Oh, how do we keep this up now?
Yeah.
But crap, we have to end it sooner or later because they're not in the sequels.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like, guys, come on, just
Yeah.
Staying on the nerdy topics, I have to give you guys credit because when you did a Filmmakers Hangout out at ACX, this was probably, goodness, I don't know, like 2021, 2022, like it was a while back.
Yeah.
We were talking about Marvel, and you were making the point that like they're going into the multiverse. This is the end. Like they've exhausted all their ideas, and I was like, no, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Everything's fine. It's like you called it, man. No. I gotta give you credit. You 100% called what was happening, and now they're trapped. Like
they're so trapped. They had to pull the one dude back from the dead.
Oh my God.
That's right. Yes.
To be another character.
Yeah.
And if you're a nerd enough, you know what character he's technically playing.
Yeah.
Because they said it. But if you know the comics, you probably know what comic that they're going to be adapting.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Since he's playing both characters now.
The only thing that gives me optimism, going back to Oppenheimer, weirdly enough, is like that performance in Oppenheimer was so good that it's like, do something different, man. Robert Downey Jr. is way too good to just go back to Tony Stark. Yeah. Like he's got layers. Like let him do something. Really
every layer is like a few $1 million.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the point right there.
Insane.
Talking about money, like there's just so much money going into these projects too. Like they can't succeed anymore. Like it's wild. Like Joker Folie à Deux is a great example of that. $200 million budget, insane. Like Joaquin Phoenix
I do find that funny though. Michael Keaton, again. 35 years later, beat the Joker.
Yeah.
Because Beetlejuice numbers were better than Joker.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Keaton rocked that. I was not crazy about the movie overall, but man, I could watch Keaton do Beetlejuice for hours. He's so good. Yes. And that's one from my childhood, or one I watched in my childhood, that I was like, I like aspects of this, the original Beetlejuice, I mean, but it wasn't like, I didn't quite get the dryness of it, and just the inventive, what he was doing. Like, and now I watched it like 3 times this year. I think I really love that original movie, and Keaton just kills it, and he's such a good actor. I need more Michael Keaton in my life,
and we all need more.
American Assassin.
Yeah,
American Assassin.
I'll check it out.
It's got Michael Keaton. It's got Dylan O'Brien. It's got a few other people in it. It's so good.
So for the longest time, I don't know if you ever watched while growing up Batman Beyond.
A little bit. I was more Batman animated series, Justice League guy. But,
right. Yeah. So Batman Beyond is a low-key sequel to Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, yeah. Brother, it's not low-key.
I know.
High-key.
Well, I know the lore.
Don't worry about timelines. It just kind of depends on what timeline you follow. So basically, when Keaton came back as Batman, when he was announced, this kid was raised on Batman Beyond, and we're like, we want a Beyond movie with Keaton as Old Man Bruce.
100%.
We want it.
Yeah.
And then when Flash flopped, we all kind of went, God damn it.
And then the animated concept came out from those dudes that are doing Spider-Verse and whatnot.
That's right.
They pitched it, and they're like, it's not a no, but don't keep your heads high.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
Yeah, they have like a whole sizzle reel.
I'm so upset.
Yeah.
We have the technology to do some of these movies, and we're like, why aren't we getting this?
They hate money. The same thing with Netflix, because Netflix was gonna do like a movie or a series about the Gorillaz characters, like the band.
Okay, yeah,
like the characters in the band. They were gonna do like a movie or a series. It was gonna be animated with the characters.
That's cool.
I was so excited, and then they freaking canceled it. Like my soul hurt that day, man.
Can I tell you the Flash story?
Yeah.
Okay, so each year, since I was working with ACX Cinemas, I went to CinemaCon, which you can go to, by the way. Like, this is open to the public. You just have to buy a ticket, get your registration. It's a little expensive, but it's very cool. At CinemaCon, the year before The Flash came out, they showed The Flash. And, you know, I was really enjoying it, honestly. Like, and the crowd was into it. Like, the jokes were landing. The Eric Stoltz thing, instead of Michael J. Fox, that got a huge laugh because it's a room of people who own theaters.
It's movie nerds.
Right. Movie nerds, 100%. It gets even to the end, and the whole sequence of the worlds colliding, and they're showing the cameos, and the cameos were cool. Here was the thing about this movie. Everything was exactly the same as how it was released eventually. And I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, we're watching a rough cut. We're watching a rough cut because the CGI looked wonky, right? And I think that was a part of the reason.
Christopher Reeve's Superman looks like a PlayStation 2 character.
Right. And as I'm watching that, I think that like wonkiness being in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can accept this. Like, this is going to be much better when it comes out in July.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting in the theater in July, and the movie starts, and we're 5 minutes into it, and it's the baby sequence, and I'm like, oh my God.
They didn't change a damn thing.
So, who has seen the movie Baby's Day Out?
I am aware of
campy comedy.
I've probably seen clips of it here and
there was better CGI babies in that than there was in The Flash.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Yeah.
It was that experience sitting in the theater, seeing it. I was with my wife opening weekend, and I realized that it was the same exact cut after they spent $250 million.
And also, what I don't understand is they could have saved themselves with another project that Michael was in.
Yes.
In that suit, but they scrapped the entire Batgirl movie.
Yeah,
insane to me.
Yeah,
it's like you could have redeemed yourself. Chop it up and make it a show on Showtime.
Yeah, it's so
or Max. That's what.
And entertainment industry is really frustrating.
Now, speaking of DC and shows and movies and all that kind of stuff,
here we go.
Penguin.
My God, I love it so much.
I haven't watched it.
It's great.
It's great.
This is how bad I am with TV. Like, I can't even make the time for a Batman TV show.
There's one episode left in the show in the season.
As we're recording. By the time this is released, it's out.
Definitely out.
Sure.
I think genuinely, but it might be my favorite show that I've ever seen in my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell was incredible.
It's very good.
Yes.
It very rarely can I remember and tell, like, oh shit, that's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Right. That's how like insane.
It's the Penguin.
It's very
Oswald.
It's very immersive.
It's Oz.
It's incredible what they did with that. Okay. Can we tell me a non-blockbuster movie that you guys have enjoyed? Because I'm already perceived at work as like nerdy blockbuster guy. Okay. So let's talk indie a little bit. If that's cool.
Not 100% indie, but it's within the Hollywood indie zeitgeist. Mm-hmm. Life is a House.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Is my go-to movie.
Yeah.
It
remind me.
It is. Why am I forgetting his name? Klein.
Okay, Kevin Kline.
And Hayden Christensen.
Okay.
Because everybody hates on Hayden for the Star Wars movies and saying he can't act, and I'm like, go watch Life is a House.
Okay. And I haven't seen it. That was one I recall. I think my parents.
Scott Bakula was in this movie.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Getting sacked for
and Scott Bakula actually came in to replace another actor last minute.
Oh, okay.
I do know that.
But is there anything like more recently that you've seen?
Snack Shack.
Yes.
Snack Shack, which we did a screening of that.
Love that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Snack Shack was really good.
With Christian in there. That guy.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, absolutely.
I loved that movie.
Have you seen Saturday Night yet with Gabriel LaBelle?
I have not yet. I want to so bad because
it's just fun.
Dylan O'Brien is one of Landon's favorite actors.
Okay.
Because I grew up watching the Teen Wolf show that he was in.
Sure.
So I was like, this guy's sick.
And he's in American Assassin with Michael Keaton.
Yes. Yeah.
But then the Maze Runner, like you said, I love those movies too.
Yeah, he's great. Those actors did a fantastic job.
But then,
like, I could definitely see him playing Harry Osborn.
Oh, okay.
In the Spider-Man going forward. I don't know if they will.
But I doubt it. But also, he just came out with another movie on Max called Caddo Lake.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet, but it looks very good. I'm excited. I might watch it when I get home.
Yeah. Have you guys seen, Saturday Night, directed by Jason Reitman, have you seen Thank You for Smoking from... This is probably 10, 15 years ago.
Yes.
That's one of my favorites. It's really good.
I don't think you have.
It's all these actors who, are bigger now than they were then. Like J.K. Simmons is in it. Aaron Eckhart is the lead actor. Dude, such a bummer of a career. Like, he hasn't really gone anywhere since late 2000s.
John Hamm kind of too that way.
Yeah, he definitely has John Hamm vibes. Yeah. Oh yeah, handsome guy, good actor.
one movie that was very independent when it got made. It was a remake of an old movie called Red Dawn.
Oh yeah, I saw the
remake. They basically, it had everybody that is everybody.
That's right.
Now.
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had Peck.
That's right. Josh Peck is in
a
it.
whole bunch of those guys in it, but they released it after they started becoming bigger names.
Yep.
And I think that's the only reason anybody knew that remake happened.
You're pointing out something, though, that kind of popped into my head. My friends and I, we actually watched Monster Squad recently as a group.
Yes.
Ton of fun.
Dab me up.
Yes.
The thing is, I have to admit, though, that like I watched this, again, back in high school alone, and I was just like, yeah, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Watching it with a group, ton more fun.
It's great. Especially with a group.
But what stood out to me is like, where are these movies? Like, we had It, obviously that's kind of a similar vibe, but like, where are just movies where kids are just hanging out and they're running into like crazy adventures?
The closest thing we have now, I think, is Stranger Things.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Yes, 100%. It's gone to television.
The biggest thing with Stranger Things is they're going with that 80s, 90s vibe.
And it works so well.
And it works.
Yep. You know what, you guys, not to give you work to do.
Give me homework.
You know what you should write is like a sports family-friendly movie. Like,
we were literally talking about one of those last night.
Because like, what happened to those? That to
like
me
the Sandlot
should be
is great.
easy money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's low budget. It's maybe an up-and-coming young cast. It just makes perfect sense. I don't know why no one has done
Christian wants to be in a baseball movie.
Yeah.
Very, very bad.
Yeah.
So we have been throwing
Christian from the farm.
Christian Velez, yes.
All right.
So we've been throwing ideas, and we came up with a concept literally last night.
So this
there we
is
go.
funny
There
that
we
we
go.
brought this
we
up.
actually have it. So I'm gonna be writing the script. I need to get a hold of Christian.
Yeah.
It's great.
So by the time this comes out, hopefully Christian already knows, and maybe we'll link down below the fundraiser for it.
There you go.
Who knows?
Perfect.
You never know.
Possibly,
So there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to end this episode is promoting a film that's not even created yet.
Perfect. Yeah. All for it.
Patrick, thanks for showing up.
Thank you guys. I could have done this for hours.
Yeah, and maybe we will sooner or later. You never know.
Yeah.
But this has been the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.